You weren't in the room. There were a lot of things said, a lot of claims said, filing this class action lawsuit against Millenia. They say they're going to lump in other cities as well where alleged crimes occurred. First, have you received the lawsuit? Did you know about it? And I guess what's your initial reaction to hearing about this?
We have not received a lawsuit from them yet. I'm not surprised that they are filing this lawsuit. My initial reaction is that the city is deflecting from what Millenia's intention with the property was. We don't think that anybody should live in the conditions that existed at Forest Cove. That's why when we bought the property, we did it with the singular goal of rehabilitating the property. That was all we were ever going to do. That was our only intention with the property. We were set to invest $60 million in renovating the property. We brought the property to the brink of that rehabilitation project. We had even obtained permits from the city approving the construction that was going to happen at the property. And then they sought and obtained a demolition order that put a halt to all of our plans, that stopped us from getting the financing, the tax credits that we needed. It eventually lost us the HUD subsidy on the property, and it put us in a position where we're unable to do anything on the property. We then agreed with the city after the demolition order in a settlement agreement that once the residents were relocated off the site, and that was important to both Millenia and the city, once they were relocated from Forest Cove, the city would seek to lift the demolition order, which was blocking the construction from starting. They breached that agreement. The Fulton County Superior Court found within the last month that they breached that agreement to seek to lift the demolition order. That would have allowed the property to get back on path to being rehabilitated, to being built up new, to provide safe, affordable housing for some of Atlanta's most vulnerable citizens.
What about the money that they say the city paid for rents, for all the people that they moved out, that now they're seeking as part of this lawsuit? They say it's going to be at least $10 million just to cover rents for moving everyone out.
Right, so the relocation cost, right. That's part of the same settlement agreement.
Why didn't y'all pay for that?
Because in the settlement agreement that the city has breached, it said that we would repay the relocation cost once the property was refinanced, rebuilt, or sold. So if any of those triggering events happen, there would be an obligation to repay that money under an agreement with the city. Those triggering events haven't happened because the city has actively blocked us from completing the rehabilitation project that we bought the property to complete.
What's your goal for Forest Cove now? I mean, what's the plan moving forward?
Our plan for Forest Cove is we would like to sell it. We want to see Forest Cove developed in a way that provides the affordable housing that was lost, the 396 units of affordable housing that would have been rebuilt as affordable housing. We would like to see it return to that, but
you want to sell it.
But we don't have. We're at a point now where we can't have a part because of the city's actions. We cannot have a part in what happens at Forest Cove moving forward.
So, I mean, but the issues of Forest Cove, the legal issues especially that you've talked about, they haven't lasted just over the last 6 weeks or 6 months. I mean, they've been going on for decades. I know Millenia was not in charge of that for all of that time, but it has remained an eyesore to start with. It's also been extremely unsafe for a lot of the residents. I've talked with them. Some of the residents were here today. I mean, there's been many, many years of inaction from Millenia.
Well, there have also been many years of inaction from the city of Atlanta. And
well, you own it.
We do own it, and we bought it with the sole purpose, the sole goal of completely tearing it down to the joist and building it back up to provide one-for-one replacement affordable housing for the Forest Cove residents.
What about the claims of you're taking these federal subsidies, taking millions of dollars, but not putting that money into the property? What were you doing with all of the money that you were receiving from the feds?
I wasn't in there to see that. But I think the money that we received from HUD it was directed the way it was meant to be directed.
Where did it go? It didn't go to the property, apparently.
It went into the management of the property.
Have you talked to some of the residents who would defy that? They would say, what management of the property?
I've not spoken to the residents.
What is your message to the residents at this point? I mean, there were more than 200 families that were moved out, 800 people. What's your message as this legal battle is just starting to?
My message to the residents is that I hope they're able to return to their neighborhood. And I think they should ask the city what the city's plan is to get those particular Forest Cove residents back to Thomasville Heights. Because the city has a plan, a very defined plan of what they want Thomasville Heights to look like, and it doesn't involve the type of affordable housing that Millenia was providing in the neighborhood.
But it was your job to provide that housing. I mean, you owned that, right? If you say that they weren't receiving the housing that they deserved, wasn't that your responsibility to provide them that housing?
We were trying to provide them that housing. We were set to rebuild the property and provide them that housing. And the city blocked us from doing that because it has an alternative vision of what it wants Thomasville Heights to look like, and it did not involve rebuilding those apartments and allowing those 396 affordable housing units to remain in place in the Thomasville Heights neighborhood.
So the city's response to that is they had no choice but on behalf of the residents to step in.
That's their position, and that's fine. But they had approved permits for us to build the property. They did have a choice, and they chose to pick their vision for Thomasville Heights over Millenia's.
Okay, so your vision, though, at this point is done. Like, you guys are looking to sell the property and to step out altogether.
We've been placed in a position where we can't do anything with the property. The owner of the property has lost tens of millions of dollars as a result of this. There's no chance right now of rehabilitating the property the way that we sought to do. The HUD contract, and again, I wasn't in the meeting, they didn't allow us in, but the HUD contract has been abated. So the rent subsidy that allowed people to live there, some of them rent-free, is gone. The ability to get the tax credits that would have financed the transaction is gone. So the reasons that we were able to buy the property and commit to spending $60 million fixing the property up, providing safe, affordable housing, it doesn't exist anymore. We are no longer able to execute on that plan for rebuilding Forest Cove.
Do you plan on fighting this lawsuit?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we filed a lawsuit Tuesday about the way the city has blocked us and stood in our way of finishing the construction project that we started, that we had made significant steps towards being able to break ground to relocate the residents and have them back in their neighborhood.
Will you just say your first and last name and a good title for you at Millenia?
I'm Kurt Lentz. I represent Millenia.
Right.
I'm an attorney.
Right. How do you spell your first and last name?
K-U-R-T.
Yep.
L-E-N-T-Z.
Got it. And what's the firm that you're with?
Baker Hostetler.
Baker Hostetler. Spell the last name.
H-O-S-T-E-T-L-E-R.
Got it. Thank you, Kurt.
Really fast, want to make a couple points too on
Sure,
the side
yeah.
on that, which is one is that when Millenia